The news of the day, Demon 1 is going to Tokyo. Don't quite know how this happened. We were joking before about EG somehow bribing the Japanese government, having some kind of, secret society maybe.
This is going to make a lot of Fnatic fans mad, but do we even really count lock-in as like a real international tournament?
Yes, it's kind of in the name, really. Like instead of the Illuminati, it's just EG.
I've kind of always been a Liquid hater, I'm going to be honest. Foot looks terrible, for example. Let's say T1 looks terrible. Do we really want to see T1 at Champions if they were awful at this tournament? I don't really.
Navi win the tournament just playing Euro on every map.
Seems very
What would
unlikely.
happen? Imagine though. Imagine if it did. I think I've slowly lost my mind thinking about this tournament. Get ready, folks. China's coming to play.
Well, welcome everybody to Cosmic Divide episode 7. Once again, joined by TMV, our resident expert. I'm here to host.
Who are you?
I'm just here to host. I'm just a guy.
Yeah, it's just a one-on-one interview. I'll be the only one talking, really.
Exactly. And we are going to do sort of our Masters Tokyo preview show. We're going to be talking about all the news heading into the tournament, which starts in just a couple of days, honestly. And it's the only Masters that we get this year before Champions. The only international LAN, I guess, post lock-in, which... Do we even really... Okay, this is going to make a lot of Fnatic fans mad, but do we even really count lock-in as like a real international tournament?
Yes. Yeah. I've heard other people say this, and I'm just like, if anything, it's an even more international tournament because everyone was there.
It's true.
So
there's a lot of worse teams for them to beat.
I guess, but I don't know. I think it all counts. It wasn't like, had they gone on a run where somehow the format had let some like really weird, like if they had gone on a really easy run to winning it all, then fair enough. But they did beat Navi and Loud in the final 2 games.
It's true.
Which I think is fair enough. And 100 Thieves before that, so.
It's true. Sorry.
People thought were good at the time, but.
My non-EMEA bias was leaking a little bit there, yeah. So. Let's get into our first topic, which is just to kind of review our predictions. We've done a couple of predictions. We did at the beginning of the season. We did at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season. And just quickly, we'll see what teams we were looking at. For you on the America side, we had Loud Energy, Cloud9. Then we had Fnatic, Navi, Liquid Giants from EMEA, and then we had DRX, PaperX, and Gen G from Pacific. On my side, we had Loud, Cloud9, Energy. In EMEA, we had Fnatic, Navi, Liquid Giants. And then DRX, PaperX, and Zeta Division. Ooh, sad.
So we each got one wrong.
Yeah, we actually did pretty well overall, I would say.
Not too bad. Giants letting us both down there versus Foot, which I think is fairly close still. I don't think that's a terrible pick. We didn't get T1, which again, I feel like T1 kind of cemented themselves as kind of the 3rd best team by the end of it. Obviously, they went to Tokyo. But it kind of it took a while. They definitely weren't like early on clearly the 3rd best team. It definitely took them a little bit of time.
And then the Cloud9, obviously EG kind of breaking everybody's predictions. Honestly,
pretty safe and did okay.
Yeah, honestly, I think if you took like Zeta, Genji, and T1 and you put them in like a tournament against each other where they just played like a round robin, like 6 rounds, T1 probably comes out maybe like 55-60% of the time. And then the other 2 could have made it. So I think we did okay.
Anyway, shall we move on to our first real topic? First real topic, the news of the day. Demon 1 is going to Tokyo. And this, by the way, I'm doing a whole series on the different teams going to Tokyo. This was why I haven't done EG yet. Because I was waiting to see, would Demon 1 actually go? And he is apparently in Tokyo. Don't quite know how this happened. We were joking before about EG somehow bribing the Japanese government, having some kind of, secret society maybe.
They are evil geniuses. They did save on money on players potentially in the offseason.
It's kind of in the name, really. Like instead of the Illuminati, it's just EG. Like those are the secret, like this is the secret society that really runs the world. It's EG, and they've tapped into that to get Demon 1 his visa there. But I'm gonna ask you because you're the America's expert. How big of a difference is that to EG?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a softball question. It's a massive difference. Like, if we're
But you know
comparing,
Reformed. Is Reformed? Have you played against Reformed in your tier 2 scrims?
I think we did actually, but
There you go.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is that Reformed. He was like his most played agent was Viper, I believe, or
Mhm.
Killjoy. It was like Killjoy and Viper were the top two, and then he'd played like I don't know Phoenix and Sky and Cypher and Omen. Jet was like number 12. If you look at his VRL, it's like it's
Yeah.
towards the bottom. So the fact that he was going to be their Jet player, as I'd heard rumors that he was doing well in scrims on Jet, but there's just no way there's no way he was going to have the same impact as Demon One. So this is a massive difference for them, and I kind of feel like this does this make I guess let me turn the question back to you. Does this make EG the number 2 team out of that group, or potentially even the number 1 team out of that group? Which, if we want to just quickly talk about, the group is DRX, Attacking Soul Esports on the top half, and then Foot versus Evil Geniuses on the bottom half. So where does EG rank out of these 4 teams now that Demon One's playing?
Yeah, I would have put them without Demon One a solid third.
Mm-hmm.
I think now they will be favored against Foot with Demon One, and against DRX, maybe. I think it has more to do with how DRX come up. Like, if DRX have got new stuff cooked up, DRX will beat EG. If DRX do not have new stuff cooked up, EG will beat DRX. Is pretty much how I see that match
Yeah,
going if they do end up playing against each other.
prep heavy
Um,
team against a team that is very like well known for just having their set strats and not having a ton of adaptability. It kind of seems like a perfect matchup for EG if we're actually
yeah,
thinking about it.
basically, that they definitely could win if DRX don't come out and do like some weird new stuff that no one has seen before. Which maybe they do. I wouldn't say that there's no way they don't have that cooked up DRX. But for me, EG, even not just to me, Demon One, even maybe not more so, but definitely a close second, if not joint first, kind of impact he has is I think he just gives the rest of the team confidence.
Yeah.
I think he gives the rest of the team the belief that, oh yeah, shit, we can actually win this, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're a good team with Demon. I was scared for them that Reformed would come in and they would just lose that edge. That people like Calm, and Jorgamo. I mean, Jorgamo's a pretty confident player, but just everyone else on the team maybe wouldn't feel like, oh, can we do this? They might play a bit scared. Big international tournament without our best player. Like, we haven't really been here before. Hey, we
Right.
don't really belong here without our best player. And just play scared and just end up losing and unlucky. But with Demon One, I feel like they'll be like coming into this Foot game and be like, especially now that it's like a surprise boost as well. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure probably the EG players, particularly like initially probably thought that he wasn't gonna go. So now that he is, it's like a surprise. Like, they're probably gonna be feeling like, oh yeah, we've got this now. Like, oh yeah. Like, even if it means that their prep probably hasn't been as good, right? They've been screaming without him for a while or whatever. It doesn't matter. I think that their
Right.
confidence now will be back up to like it was when they played against Cloud9, when they just destroyed them. They'll just be feeling like, we've got this. And so I think, yeah, EG now will be a scary team, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually this Foot versus EG match
Mm.
might be the best matchup
Yeah.
of certainly of Group B, but potentially of the entire group stage. I know Energy Navi's on the other side, but I think the fact that we get to see Kiwi against Demon One, who are, in my opinion, probably the 2 most breakout, standout like duelist players of the year so far in VCT,
Mm.
is going to be really exciting. And it's one of those spots where I think Kiwi has like infinite confidence in himself, and Demon One also has infinite confidence in himself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who is going to crumble? Like, if,
Mm.
if Kiwi comes out and he's like 5-0 in first blood against Demon One, that'll be really the first time that Demon One has kind of faced adversity, realistically.
Mm.
I mean, obviously the EG season has been kind of filled with adversity, but I kind of feel like Demon One has been able to kind of like exert his influence on every game that he's played so far, and kind of same with Kiwi. So which one of them is going to be able to break the other one, and maybe neither of them fold, and it's just a crazy banger series. But I'm really excited for that, and I kind of feel like both of these teams, and we'll get to this later, both of these teams are kind of maybe sleeper picks to do a lot of damage at this event.
Yeah, I think they're both teams that when they're confident and they're playing well are a real danger to a lot of teams. Like maybe outside of like Loud and Fnatic, maybe maybe that's a bit too high up for them in like a crucial game, but everyone else, I think, an on-form Foot or an on-form EG could probably beat anyone else at the tournament. So yeah, it's just going to make the tournament better though, because otherwise it just would have been it would have been super disappointing if Foot beat EG easy without Demon 1, and then like DRX and Foot just go through the group really easy, and you might as well have not even watched the group. Now there's like oh, here we go, right? Because like if Foot beat EG with Demon 1, I'll be like, okay, Foot can do damage. If EG look good and go through as well, I'll be like, okay, they can do damage, which is just going to be good for the tournament as we go deeper into it. But shall we move on to a bit of a different topic? A bit of a weird topic. Interesting one you've included here. Does having almost every team at Tokyo auto-qualify for champs? So that means that all of the... wait, does it work for the Chinese teams as well? Are they auto at champs? I actually
don't know about that. Weren't they just straight up invited to the tournament?
I don't know.
I don't know if they actually qualified. Yeah.
Either way, definitely for Pacific and Americas, those three teams are locked in, and then we only have one slot that's kind of up for, I guess, not grabs, because you don't want that spot of being the one EMEA team who finishes last will not go to champs automatically. Does that take away some of that hype for champs? Now, you came up with this question, so I'm kind of interested to see what you have to say.
Oh, not hype for champs, but hype for this tournament. Because
for this one. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, for this tournament. Because like normally when you go to a Masters, it's like, okay, the top 2 teams maybe make champs or something like that based off the points. I think that's how it was last year. Whereas like only in like the top 2 or 3 were you kind of guaranteed to go to the next tournament. Whereas this one, because there's only one Masters, and for whatever reason how the points were distributed, it's like if you make it to Tokyo, you're going to Champions. And so to me it makes it a little disappointing, because I know that all the players are going to be like super hype for playing a LAN. It's pretty rare obviously to play a LAN, so it's really exciting to go and play, and everybody wants the trophies and the money's pretty good, but everybody wants to be world champion, right? That's what actually matters in these games, in basically every esport. You want to be the champion of the world at the end of the year. And so for me, it makes it a little bit less hype, because not that any team's going to be saving strats for champions this early on, but it's like that extra layer of pressure is not there, right? It's like if you lose at Tokyo, it obviously sucks, but you still get to play at the next tournament, which is even bigger and more prestigious and more important to prep for.
And I think for the orgs as well, like for the orgs, champs is big for the orgs, because they make the money from the skins. So like for the orgs, like going to a Masters event, that's cool. But going to champs is like we need to go to champs for that money.
Skin bundles.
we need that money. So if you could get to champs, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And so I think, but it also might take a bit of shine off champs as well, because it's just kind of like we're just going to see all of the same teams pretty much.
Right. And some of these teams, I mean, we've seen this before. Like some of these teams, their performance could fall off very rapidly in like, a month time. So let's say Foot looks terrible, for example. Let's say T1 looks terrible. Do we really want to see T1 at Champions if they were awful at this tournament? I don't really, but we're going to regardless. And so it kind of sucks, but I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that.
No debate, huh?
Your next question was, will we see any interesting meta shifts? Now, when you wrote this question, did you have something in mind? Unfortunately, they aren't playing on the new patch. They are still
Right.
playing on the old 6.10. So the Pearl changes on there, the Viper changes on there, the Chamber changes in there. So obviously that might have an impact like later on down the line. But for this tournament, that won't be doing too much. But what did you have in mind for this question? Anything in particular?
Reyna meta. Is Reyna? No, just in general, I always feel like there's one team that brings something unique to the table, and every tournament, especially the big international tournaments where you have, the different regions coming together and trying out their ideas against each other, always seems to come up with at least something new. For lock-in, we had like the Harbor Viper stuff, we had the Viper on Ascent stuff, So will we see anything kind of like that? Will there be some sort of innovation? Will some team have figured out how to defend Pearl B long even in the old meta? What do you think?
I think if there was going to be any meta shift on its own, I think it would be the death of Harbor Viper.
Mm-hmm.
The way that would happen is the non-Americas teams don't play that much Harbor Viper. They might play a bit of it on a map or two, but it's not like, it's not like every team, like the MEA teams in particular.
Right.
Harbor Viper almost doesn't exist.
Yep.
So to me, like the way that the meta could shift is if the Americas teams or whoever's playing Harbor Viper ends up losing pretty much every game to teams that aren't running Harbor Viper, combine that with the Viper nerf, like we could just see it completely disappear. And the Pearl change as well, which is obviously like the main map for it. We could just see it just completely disappear, and I wouldn't be like completely.
But those
shocked.
changes won't be there, right?
No, but I mean like after, like I don't think we'll see meta. Like to me, I don't think the meta shift will happen at the tournament itself.
Okay.
I feel like the meta shift will happen in response to what people have seen at the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the Harbor Viper teams keep losing, I wouldn't expect, unless maybe they get to the very end of the tournament. We have seen that in the past at some tournaments, that by the very end teams have like stopped playing a certain thing. We saw that at Champs last year where teams on Ascent just stopped playing Chamber, because Loud just kept winning on Ascent with the everyone now plays with Jet, and so like teams like Fnatic and Optic went away from Chamber and just started playing Jet by the end of the tournament on that map. So we could see maybe something like that, but I wouldn't expect anything too drastic. I'm kind of in my mind, I'm kind of hopeful that a team like Paper Rex does well, because then it would just be funny. Because then if teams try and copy it, that'll be funny,
right?
Because like they play such bizarre stuff that it would just like for a while it would be interesting, and some teams just wouldn't be able to run it because they're not Paper Rex, but other teams might be able to be okay at it, and that would be fun to see. Or like get EDG winning the tournament or something and see what happens to the meta, right? When people are trying to copy EDG and it's like, wait a minute, they just won this tournament. How did they do? Oh, attacking Gecko up. That's the way. Let's go for it. That would be interesting. But other than that, yeah, I don't really see too much happening within the tournament itself. Post-tournament, though, there is, I think, potential for quite a bit to change, to be honest, especially with, again, some of the balance changes that are coming as well. I think, yeah, it will be pretty interesting.
Sure. Yeah. I personally think that we will see something unique. Probably from a team like Loud, although with them going directly to playoffs, maybe they don't have to show too much. Maybe they only have to play a couple of games.
Navi win the tournament just playing Yoru on every map.
Seems very
what
unlikely.
Would happen? Imagine though. Imagine if it did. That would be a great timeline to live in. And just watch all these teams struggle to try and implement Yoru.
that would be an EG buff, honestly. Their Yoru is pretty good. So
yeah. Okay, speaking, I just mentioned EDG hopefully winning. I mean, that would be great. That would be amazing. Is this the tournament where Chinese Valorant have they won a game at a tournament?
I don't think so. I think they got pretty close with EDG.
They should have been 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
EDG should have been 100 Thieves, but I don't think they did. And did they last year? I don't think they did.
I think I was looking at it. I don't think they won a game at an international tournament.
So do we think that could happen? EDG play against T1. So I'm kind of, what do you think? I think that they could win that game. I wouldn't be shocked if they won that game.
I predicted that they would win that game.
Ooh, okay.
And my main rationale for that is that basically everybody on this team Again, I keep forgetting that lock-in exists. I was going to say everybody's on this team has played an international tournament. It's like
But
everybody's played an international tournament because of lock-in. But they played at Champs last year, basically everybody on this team. So they've already been at this, high pressure, big stakes type of event, maybe more so than, the likes of Ban. It's really hard to read like Carpe because technically he's played maybe more international competition than anybody because of the Overwatch League. So what does the pressure really mean to him? We've seen Saya show up pretty well on land before. Munchkin has been pretty decent on land, and then Zeta actually maybe is like the least experienced, but also maybe like the most kind of calm, organized player on the team. So it's really hard to kind of get a read on T1, but we have seen how explosive and like Lanimal some of these EDG players can be. Like obviously Kong, incredible player just in general, but also on land seems to really show up and kind of give his best stuff. If I remember correctly,
QQ.
Yeah, QQ was incredible.
Crazy.
Smoggy was really good. Howdong had his incredible moments. All of them had like really incredible moments.
Yeah.
So for me, EDG has proved that at these stakes they can step up to the plate. Even if they didn't finish some of these matches that they played, they looked really dangerous in the past. And so if they were going to win a game, it's probably this one, because I think whoever loses this, sorry, you're playing Navi or Energy in the bottom half of the bracket, and you're probably out of the tournament at that point.
Yeah, that's their best chance. I think the gap, like Attacking Soul, I'm gonna have to go back and watch. I've watched some of the games for the Chinese teams. To me, when I watch EDG and Attacking Soul in some of these games, I'm like, how did Attacking Soul ever beat EDG? But they beat them multiple times. So I don't know if they've just got EDG's number, although EDG most recently did beat them. But yeah, I was like, how is this like? Because Attacking Soul, you watch them, they make more mistakes than EDG. Like EDG make mistakes, but they make mistakes at like a level that you maybe see honestly from some of the other tier. Like to me, EDG are like a tier 1, like mid to bottom level tier 1 team in one of the leagues in terms of like the mistakes they make, but their mechanics are of like the top level. Like that's EDG to me, where I like if you put EDG in the Pacific League, they do okay. They wouldn't be like a bottom feeder. Attacking Soul, you watch them and it's just like I mean they do have some cracked players. Like some of the rounds they pull out are some like what is going on. Again, they're super cracked, but they just make way too many mistakes. They just like they do some things that are just like, but like why would you even think to do like some things you watch them do and it's just like what, like they're like Paper Rex in a way, but it's like Paper Rex, but sometimes just like no thought behind it, right? When Paper Rex are playing well, there's util going off. Like, yeah, they're being really aggressive, but there's util there as well. With Attacking Soul, sometimes it's just like, but why are you doing that? Like the only question is why. There's like I'm genuinely watching it over again to see if I've missed things, because it's like there's no way you've just done that on your own, but they do, and they're just kind of crazy. And I think, yeah, I don't have much hope for Attacking Soul. They played DRX in their first game as well, which I don't think is an easy game by any means. And yeah, EDG. If EDG were in the other group, I mean, I guess Demon One now is playing for EG as well, so that doesn't help. But without Demon One, I was genuinely like, if you swap the two Chinese teams, I think EDG could have got out of that and got into playoffs. But unfortunately, it seems like that might not be the case.
Is there a chance that they make it out of this group?
Their chance is this. Their chance is that they beat T1, which I think they can do, right? I would call that kind of I'd say I'd slightly favor T1 in that game, but slightly. I could definitely see EDG winning that. And then their hope then is probably that Navi, it turns out, are just bad.
Trolling.
like it turns out that Navi this whole time weren't saving strats or whatever. They are just not playing well. Like that's their hope. If that is the case, then yes, they can get out of this group. If Navi has got strats saved up, if Navi, do like really turn up for this now, yeah, they don't have a chance because they got too hard of a group. But again,
Mhm.
I feel like EDG, and this is a big compliment to them, really. If you think about where they are, like we're talking about like the best 10 teams from the 3 main regions.
Yeah.
Like, and in my mind, EDG aren't that far off. Which,
Yeah.
like, I'm basically saying that EDG are kind of like a top 10 team and don't look that far out. Which
All right.
I don't think they truly are a top 10 team, but they're not that far away either. They wouldn't look out of place in one of the leagues.
Let me pose a question to you this way. So let's say if we could go back, rewind time, Pacific wins lock in, so they get the extra slot. And let's say the Chinese teams are part of the Pacific League. Would you take EG as the EDG as the 4th team that's going over a Zeta or Gen.G? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Gen.G, how they were playing at the start of the season, no. Gen.G by the end, 100% wouldn't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Zeta and Team Secret kind of your other options.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd probably say EDG could
Okay.
beat those teams. I actually do think EDG could beat those teams because I think they just out aim them. I think that they're just more mechanically gifted than those teams. They would make mistakes and stuff, but I think their aim would make up for it.
Okay.
To be honest, so yeah, like I think that they would probably be like a mid-level team in kind of all 3 leagues. I don't think they would look out of place. So that's my thoughts on the Chinese teams. But let's move on from the Chinese teams and talk about another Pacific team, Paper Rex, who are going straight to the playoffs. But there are rumors, little whispers and little rumors that something won't be able to play. And for those of you who've watched any of Paper Rex since something started playing with them, you'll know that's a big problem. And also Benkai isn't the sub, which is also weird. So
yeah, we can talk about that as well. So
if something isn't going, how do you feel about Paper Rex? Because they are starting in the playoffs as well, so they won't have any easy games, most likely, either.
Yeah, and it's not just something like you mentioned. It's not just something potentially not playing. It's also Benkai not being their sub, which means that their sub, the person who would replace something with, is Cigarettes or CGRS, who has 1 official game with the team, which was 2 games of Gecko, and it was not good.
I hope they just play Gecko. I
and
hope they just play full-time Gecko.
Before that, the only experience that this player has is a couple of series, I guess a few more series on Xerxia and then some other tier 2 team. A total of, let's see, 8, 13. Sorry, I'm just reading off the total number of matches that he's played. So 8 games of Chamber, 5 games of Jet, 4 games of Fade, 2 games of Raze, 2 games of Gecko, 1 game of Sage, 1 game of KO. Total experience in competitive VRL matches. Not good, in my opinion. And here's the thing. For me, Paper X is the most exciting team to watch. And the reason for that is that they play a different brand of Valorant than anybody else is playing. Yeah. I think we're still in this era of Counter-Strike is everything. Every team that's good, basically, has some sort of Counter-Strike tac shooter kind of like baseline foundation of how they approach the game. You know, we throw some utility, we take some map control, we get a read on the game, we rotate based off of that. Paper X basically has like, and they did this when they first kind of burst on the scene with their Yoru stuff, and then they kind of fell away from it, but now they're back to that, which is they essentially have like some set plays, and they have some sort of like big execute style rounds, but then the vast majority of their gameplay is basically like, these are cool utility combos. Let's
do that.
Let's just do them however feels best in the round. Actually, I was watching Plat Chat yesterday, and Mimi put it the best that I've heard. She said, Paper X is jazz. It's basically like they have all of the notes that are available in the musical scale, and then they just kind of like interpret the round however feels the best to them. And it's the most unique way of playing Valorant. And I think it might even be the best way of playing Valorant in the future, which is that you don't get anti-stratted because there are no strats. You just have a bunch of tools that you then use in a way that is like, you know, based off of your reads in the game. I don't know if they're going to have that same sort of explosiveness that they have with something with Cigarettes. I'm sure he's a talented player, can aim well, but something is uniquely gifted aiming wise where you can just be like, you're on Reyna, you're pushing by yourself deep into enemy lines, totally fine, we don't care. We trust you to basically 1v1 anybody that you're going to encounter. Here's one piece of utility, we're going to be doing something on the other side of the map. To me, that's not who Cigarettes is, but I also don't really have a ton of basis because there's not a lot of footage on this guy to go off of.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paper Rex without something would just be. I think even a mentality thing, like we kind of talked about with EG, like Paper Rex with CGRS, like the rest of the players are just gonna know, like we don't really have a chance. Like when we come up against, like you're just gonna know, like in the back of your mind, you're just gonna be thinking, like we can't win this. We don't have our full team. We don't have our best player, most or certainly one of our best players. And there's just no way you can come back from that, right? Like no team will. And I think it's just the way it is. And I think Paper Rex's playstyle very much relies on people kind of being able to very quickly, kind of almost intuitively, like play off each other with like utility, particularly people like Devi and Mind Freak, like being able to kind of catch up to what's going on. And I think like you take off one of the pieces and you add in a different piece, and like it's like you have to restart the machine again. It's like all of it, like you're adding in an extra person who now has to try and like catch up with everyone else. I think it's not going to be easy for them. But our next topic kind of quickly.
Actually, hold up. Counterpoint.
Counterpoint
is just that because they are maybe the least structured team out of all of the teams.
Ooh.
Is it easier for them to just be like, all right, you step in, you just kind of do your thing. We're already kind of just doing our thing. Is that the easier situation for him to step into?
No, because I mean, again, like the way, like it's so often like, especially because it's something, right? Like I could almost see it if you're like Mind Freak can't go. And you need someone else to like fill in on controller and try and like catch up on control, like and they're going to be the person who's sitting back and not being the one who's being set up. But unless they're going to completely flip all of the roles, like I feel like it like something is the guy who's get me this bit of utility here, get me a bit of that. Like
he is pretty vocal and makes a lot of calls and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's gonna be important. Like if you just try and swap someone in to play something's role, like 1-to-1, especially a player with not a lot of experience and who doesn't play similar agents a lot of the time, or recently at least. Like, yeah, there's just no way. I don't think that it could work. Maybe they can just completely change their comps and just do absolutely random stuff. And maybe like if Forsaken and Jing like go back to like that. Well, Forsaken's playing pretty well, but if Jing as well goes back to like prime form and just going absolutely crazy, like maybe they could be okay. But it's just, yeah, I just don't really see it. We've seen on other teams as well, like Fnatic when they, have to have subs and stuff, like, it's just not the same, right? You add in a sub like who you haven't been playing with for the whole season, like it's just not gonna work. I don't think it would have worked for EG, and I don't think it would work for Paper Rex if they also don't have it. But we don't know yet. Maybe something can still play. Maybe there's still a hope. Maybe
Demon One made it. Maybe EG will pull some more strings.
Yeah, maybe EG can pull some strings for them, and we'll see. But let's go into our next topic, assuming that something can play. Because otherwise, I feel like this question is too easy. But assuming that something can play, which of the 4 playoff teams, so that's Team Liquid, Paper Rex, Fnatic, and Loud, which of those teams is the most likely to flop? Now, I feel like there is an obvious answer there, but are you going for that obvious answer?
Well, I mean, I guess the main reason that I wanted to pose this question is because I feel like every international tournament that we've had where there is like a direct to playoffs, it seems like one of those teams just does not do well. Like they come in cold against a team that is already played 3 games and they're all warmed up and they just get pounded and then they're out of the tournament basically.
Yeah.
I've kind of always been a Liquid hater. I'm going to be honest. And it's weird because I like the org. I like Liquid as an org, but I just have not been a huge fan of this team over the last 2 years. And even the team this year with the addition of Naz and Redgar, who are two of my favorite players in EMEA.
You don't like reach up?
I just don't like this team. And I don't really know exactly what it is, but I have the least faith in them. Again, assuming something does play, I have the least faith in Liquid of being able to just sit on the sidelines, watch people play the game, and then come into playoffs with no warm-up games, essentially, and have them perform at a level that is good enough to beat teams that are going full steam ahead. So, to me, they're the most likely to flop, but I'd be curious to hear what you have to say.
I feel like for Team Liquid, like with Loud and Fnatic, I'm interested to see what they'll do. Because I feel like with Loud, I think we got a bit of a taste of it, right? With their, they finally kind of showed Bind and they showed Fracture, which actually might be a disadvantage for them. And it was clear that, okay, yeah, we had something cooked up. This whole time, yes, secretly in the background, we had something that's weird and no one else is doing it. And haha, we're going to catch you off guard with it on both of those maps. And I could see Loud, reinventing, one or two of their maps as well come, by the time the playoffs come. And I 100% think that there's no way that Fnatic have like one pistol round for each map.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that they've been showing.
Yeah, true.
And so, like, they've got to have something more. If not, then I'm going to be asking Minnie and Boaster, have you just been on holiday? Like, what have you been doing? So they're definitely going to have new stuff. Will they play weird comps? I don't think so, because that doesn't seem like the Fnatic way.
But will it be good new stuff is the question.
But to me, Fnatic are good enough that as long as it's just new and someone can't anti-strat it straight away, the rest of the players are good enough to where it will work. They just need to show, do stuff that they haven't shown before that people can't hard counter, and I think they'll be fine, at least early on. Team Liquid, to me, are a team where Redgar almost exclusively plays Omen. He only plays Omen, pretty much. And so I don't know if they're going to change that or whether you can just know, okay, they're going to play Omen. And then Nats, is going to play a lot of Cypher. Like, that Nats is going to play a lot of Cypher on most maps. And so I feel like straight away when you can kind of, on most maps, go, okay, they're going to do this. Right, they're gonna be playing those agents. These are Nats' setups that he likes and stuff. Like, I remember Team Secret said that for lock-in that they were watching Nats' streams for his setups on maps and stuff like that. Like, I'm interested to see how much Team Liquid can actually reinvent themselves. They have been changing comps now and then. It's not like, and they do have some. I feel like Yampy and Soulcast in particular, can play a lot of different agents. So it's not like. It's not like they're chained and can't do anything, but I don't know how much they'll be able to change. And unlike like a Loud or Fnatic, and Paper X are just crazy, so you can't really you can try and you can anti-strat Paper X, but then being in the game with them is different because
you can't practice against them.
Yeah, you aren't practicing against Paper X, so you can watch the VOD if you want, but it's going to be different when you're actually playing against it. Whereas Team Liquid, they haven't been dominant, so they've had to probably show most of their ideas already. They, as I said, I feel like you can somewhat read into what some of the players, most likely what a lot of their comps might look like, even if it's not exactly, you'll know probably whereabouts they're going to be. And so I am a bit worried for them that, if they get an NRG or even a Navi, if Navi have come out and look strong and, are playing well, or even a DRX, right? Where it's like, if DRX have played well and have got maybe a bit of an easier group and maybe they can build some confidence, I'd be worried for Team Liquid that, they could be a team that, ends up just being that kind of flop as we talked about, one team that just kind of is in the playoffs, starts off a bit cold, doesn't do too well. Because I also think teams like Fnatic and Loud in particular, they've just got this kind of it's like Loud's music, the final boss music. They've just got that we're gonna win this game. Yeah. We're gonna win this game. We know we're gonna win this game. So let's just get this over with and we'll win this game. You know, and everyone kind of goes, okay, yeah. Oh, we lost to Loud, we lost to Fnatic. No big deal, right? Pat on the back, don't worry about it. I feel like when you have that mentality of like, we are going to win this game, you need kind of, you know, that extra level just to beat Loud and Fnatic in any game. You need that kind of like real, like, we can do this, which I'm not sure, like, other than maybe like NRG, like, I feel like this is what DRX struggle with a lot.
Right.
Is that they come up against those teams and go like, we've lost to you now like 4 tournaments in a row.
Yeah.
We can't beat you. Like NRG, but know that they can do it, right? They got that belief of we can do this.
Same with Navi. They've won an international tournament.
Yeah, Navi will be like, we can do this. We've done this before.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I feel like if you draw Loud or Fnatic, you're just done for. Whereas whoever draws Team Liquid will go, yes, we got Team Liquid. Well, let's go. And that's like no slight to Team Liquid. But it's true.
Yeah.
Like, it's just true. No team is going to want to play Loud or Fnatic. No team is going to want to play them. Whoever gets Team Liquid will be like, yes, we've been rewarded with Team Liquid. We can beat them.
Right.
And that's like, and again, it's not that Team Liquid are a bad team. They deserve where they got to there. You know, they beat Fnatic in the grand final. They're the EMEA champions. They deserve to win that game. But they still, I don't think they don't have the aura about them of a team that, you know, can't be beat. They have an aura of a team that, you know, historically, Team Liquid is the team that kind of does okay in a lot of these international tournaments. They maybe make it to playoffs and then they go out. That's the Team Liquid way. So I feel like, you know, a lot of teams will probably be feeling, well, yeah, that'll happen again.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just, for some reason, with the roster they have, I just don't ever see them winning an international tournament. And I don't really necessarily know what it is that makes me feel like that, but I just don't believe. And I'm willing to be proven wrong, but if we look at the teams that are most likely to come out of groups, we've got very likely Energy and Navi coming out of Group A, probably DRX, and honestly, probably EG. Yeah. But I think if it's either EG or Foot, and we don't know who's going to play who out of these, but if Energy comes out and they play Liquid, I'm taking Energy. If Navi comes out and they play Liquid, I'm taking Navi. If DRX comes out and they play Liquid, I'm probably taking DRX. And if EG comes out and they're playing Liquid, I'm probably taking EG. Foot is maybe the least likely team. But even Foot, they're a momentum-based team. If they come out of groups and they look good, I'm probably taking Foot over Liquid. And that might sound like massive hate coming from me. I just, again, like, I don't have anything against these players. I like the org, but I just don't believe in this team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this team, but I see what you're saying. Where like, of the teams that are most likely to come out of groups, like it feels like, even with EG, like,
they're so momentum based. If Demon One is owning people and they come out of groups, they're going to be feeling so good.
If EG are coming out of groups, yeah, I kind of like, it's like a 50-50 if they get Team Liquid. Like, and I don't know why I feel like that. Because I feel like, you know, Team Liquid, they've proven they're a good team. I do think they'd beat Foot. I think you're going a bit far with the Foot. They did 3-0 Foot and it looked pretty convincing. So
fair enough.
Definitely take them over Foot, but the other 4 that are likely to come out of groups, it's like a 50-50 at best, I think. Which, you know, again, if those teams draw Loud or Fnatic, I'm like, no, Loud or Fnatic are going to win that game. Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting, I guess. And speaking of, like, teams, speaking of Team Liquid, this always comes up. Which team is the biggest dark horse to impress? Get it? Team Liquid, they have a dark horse. Which, nice by the way, let's just quickly, if I can. Yep. Why is Team Liquid's logo a horse? This was brought up to me by my brother, who isn't really into like esports too much, and was like, they're called Team Liquid, but they have a horse as their logo.
Okay, so a little bit of history on Team Liquid. They started off as a StarCraft org. Mm-hmm. Victor, the founder of Team Liquid, the co-owner of Team Liquid, he was a StarCraft professional and a poker player. I think those were like the 2 things that he did professionally before starting Team Liquid. I would guess that he pulled it from chess. I'm pretty sure it's like because it's like a chess piece, right?
does look a bit like a chess piece.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's where it comes from, but I don't actually know a ton of the history beyond that. But
They
originally
really explain.
So
yes, Team
basically,
Liquid.
I just said about 30 to 45 seconds of complete and utter nonsense that doesn't matter.
But yeah, I mean they've got a good logo, but
yeah,
I was just wondering. Anyway, back to the question: biggest dark horse. This is an interesting one, and man, I mean the EG stocks are rising in my mind.
God,
Like
they're just through the roof with Demon One right now. Like they're probably the most likely dark horse at this point, right?
Yeah,
at least in everybody's mind.
They're at the front of everyone's mind, especially with Demon One coming back. But does that even make them that dark of a horse? I guess it kind of depends on what you think would be What would be impressive for EG? Do you think?
So, okay, I would define a dark horse as a team that probably comes into the tournament with the expectations of being in the bottom 4, but then ends up being in the top 6, maybe something like that would be sort of how I would define it. And in that sense, like, it's kind of hard to put NRG, DRX, and Navi as dark horses, but they are starting off in the group stage. So if they end up going through groups and ending in the top 3, like that's fairly impressive, right? But for me, the biggest candidates for a dark horse would be a team like EDG, T1, Evil Geniuses, Foot, and probably even like Paper X, I would consider.
Paper X without something. If they play with something, they aren't really a dark horse.
Yeah, but aren't they a little bit? I mean, does anyone expect Paper X to like potentially win this tournament?
With something that I think they could win the tournament.
Outside of your massive copium for Paper X, the average Valorant fan, do you think that they like?
Yeah, because people love Paper X. Because everyone loves Paper X.
Okay.
So everyone's on the Paper X train. So yeah, of course, people. Maybe it's because I do get a lot of like Indonesians and people from Malaysia in my chat, so maybe I'm just swayed by them. But they will definitely believe the Paper X are favorites to win this tournament, with or without something. They will think the Paper X are going to win it. But I think it depends again on what like versus expectation. Like Paper X are probably somewhat of a dark horse to win the tournament. Right. Same for like Team Liquid. I'd say DRX would be a dark horse to win the tournament. In terms of a dark horse, in terms of just impressing, like then you're talking about probably like your bottom 4 teams. In which case, I mean, again, I feel like T1. I kind of want to make a bit of an argument for T1 because, like you said earlier, you're picking EDG to beat them. But I think that's harsh. I think T1 should be the favorite to win that game. I think that T1 probably aren't as mechanically good as EDG, but they make less mistakes. They have better ideas than EDG. They, I think, are, more consistent for sure, because EDG sometimes, won't turn up in a map or whatever. As I said, they lost to attacking Soul a couple times, and I'm still baffled by how that could even happen. Because they look way better when they're playing at their best. So like I think T1 should be favored to win that game. The problem for T1 is that their group is too hard.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that this group has NRG and Navi in it.
Like if they were in the other group again, I could believe it.
Yeah.
Like they almost beat DRX. I mean, like if they were in the other group and let's say that they won their first game, against Foot, like let's say they were swapped with EG. They play against Foot, they win that game. And then even if they met DRX, I'd still be like, well, they could win that game. They almost beat them in a best of 5. I don't see a reason why, T1 playing well and DRX maybe not playing as well, that they couldn't win that game. So it's one of them where it's just unfortunate the group that they got, because I feel like they could have done well, but they've kind of been dealt a bad hand.
Yeah, and same kind of goes for EDG, right? Like either of these teams, whichever team wins this one, probably would have a decent chance for a decent top 6 run if they were in the other group, but they're just not. So,
or you could just go crazy and say, really, the T1 or EDG, just whoever wins that first game beats Navi. Because here's what's happening, and I'm going to tell you this right now: NRG are going to lose to Navi.
I agree.
It's fated. It's already scripted in. Okay, you want to know how I know? Because NRG, the universe has decided that NRG must complain about how many games they play, which is somewhat their own fault because they always go through lower brackets, right? But the world has decided that that must simply be the case. They must play as many games as possible. You know, FNS and Chet is not allowed to sleep.
Correct.
That is what the world has decided. And so therefore they must go through the lower bracket. And therefore they will lose that first game. But actually Navi won't even be playing that well. Navi will still be trolling, and T1 or EDG will beat Navi. And there you go. There's your dark horse. One of NRG or Navi goes out straight away.
Okay.
That's my pred. You know what? I'm going to pred it. F it. When I do these preds later on, that's going to be my pred.
Okay. Fair enough. My dark horse is going to be, I mean...
It's T1.
Okay. No, I kind of like that. I think they're probably the most doubted team out of these, outside of like the Chinese teams probably. For me, I think my dark horse prediction is that the winner of Foot/Evil Geniuses is going to make top 4.
Ooh, top 4.
Yeah.
They'd have to get a bit of a fortune. Like again, it's always going to be difficult for that team. Whoever draws Loud and Fnatic, I think, in the playoffs, always going to be tough for them. But
there's a lower bracket, but
yeah, I mean, there's still a lower bracket, but you know, then it's tough to get to the top 4. You're then going to have to win 2 games in a row against probably good teams. So that's not going to be easy. But yeah, I could see it, particularly if they got a favorable draw, especially EG. Like EG, I think playing at their best, have a decent shot.
I mean, imagine they come out of groups, they're feeling confident, they draw Paper X with no something in round 1.
Yeah,
seems like a pretty easy win. Then they go up against, let's say, Liquid in round 2. Maybe.
Winnable.
Anyway, so that's my prediction. Which of the 3 regions should get the extra slot to Champions? And what I mean by that is, if you don't know, the winner of this earns their region an extra slot to Champions, just like the winner of Lock-In earned the region an extra slot to this tournament. So it'll end up with, you know, potentially EMEA having 4 teams, right?
Yeah.
It can't be 5. It can't be 5, right?
No, 1 region will have 5. 2 regions will have 4.
Okay.
That's the way it's going to work. So whoever wins this, their LCQ, the 2 top teams from LCQ go.
Okay.
Depending on who wins Masters Tokyo.
So the EMEA has the best chance of having 5 because there's 4 teams here, right? So there's 4 chances for them to... Yeah.
But the way I thought about this question was, who's like the 5th best team in each league?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, can I think of 5 teams that I would actually be excited to see at Champs, right?
Right.
And for Americas, right? Obviously, they've got the 3 Americas teams. They're already gone. The 3 that are here, they're going, right? C9, I think most people would go, yep, ship C9 off to Champs right now. They'd be an interesting team. They'd be good. It'd be fun to watch. All of that stuff, right?
Yep.
And then you've got quite a few teams that I think people would be interested in, right? Like everyone loves Sentinels, right?
Yep.
Or 100 Thieves or whatever, right? But I think most likely, like, you know, judging from what we've seen previously, who is most likely to take that spot? Right now, you'd probably say Fioria, maybe Leviathan. I don't know exactly where you would stand on that debate, but like,
I don't know. I
feel like the rest of the teams in Americas, everyone ended on like in as bad of a way as they could. Other than like the top 4, everyone else kind of like Fioria ended on a downswing. Leviathan, downswing. 100 Thieves, downswing. Okay, Sentinels, you could say maybe they were on a slight upswing.
Okay.
But they were coming from such a low floor that it's like...
You know what I just realized? Okay, imagine this. Loud wins the tournament at Tokyo.
Yeah.
Okay, they earn NA 5 slots at Champions.
Yeah.
There is a chance...
Americas.
Yeah. There is a chance that Crew could go to Champions after winning 0 games in the regular season.
But there's a chance that Crew could go... Crew could still win LCQ. Either way.
Yeah, but it makes their chances twice as good if there's 2 slots.
Yeah, but Crew isn't. Don't worry about that. Crew isn't going.
I'm just
Okay,
saying, how
don't
crazy would
worry
it be
about it.
if Crew went to champs after winning no games?
Don't even worry about it. Now to answer back to the question, 5 teams in the MEA. I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, to be honest, I think 5 teams for any of these regions is too much. I feel like the middle of the pack teams are there for a reason in every single league. Like
Yeah.
from what I've seen, one week they'll be okay, the next week they'll be whoever doesn't make it from EMEA straight away and has to go and play in LCQ, they've got a massive disadvantage for a start.
Yep.
Because they haven't had the time off that these other teams have had. So they're at a big disadvantage actually, whoever doesn't make it from EMEA. So like if it's Foot or if it's Navi even, right, they're actually at a disadvantage. Those would be the 2 most likely because
but then it's like, okay, Giants, we kind of both predicted them to make Tokyo, so they're maybe the strongest team, but like
I don't care though. Like Giants are a team again, like they're very middle of the road, right?
Yep.
If Giants went to champs, how would they do? They'd probably like win 1 game and lose 2.
Yep.
Like that's what they do. And I feel like that's true though for pretty much whoever the 5th team would be. Unless a team had like a miracle, like they found Demon 1 and someone turns into like god mode. Like unless that happens, I feel like for most of these teams, I'm just send an extra Chinese team because at least they'll be fun. Like I'm being serious. Like at least they'll be fun. They'll be different. They'll be aggressive. They'll be stupid. Yeah, they probably won't do well, but it'll be fun to watch them at least. And that's really what I'm here to see. As someone who watches a ton of Valorant. So
I mean, is my NA bias too high? I kind of feel like I would prefer to see 5 America's teams. Sorry, South America.
I'm always gonna do that. By the way, it annoys me when people say NA.
I feel like 5 America's teams is better than 5 teams from other regions, and I don't obviously mean that the Americas region is better overall, but I think the drop off from like Fnatic, Fnatic, Navi, Liquid, I think the drop off to the next teams there is higher than it is from the Americas to Furia, Cloud9, Sentinels, 100 Thieves.
Everyone in Americas is mid. Is that what you're trying to say?
And then especially in Pacific, the drop off from DRX, PaperX, T1 to their like.
Oh, we don't
I want to see Zeta, but I don't want to see Zeta. I don't want to be sad anymore. So it's like don't send Zeta to Champions.
Send global esports. That would kind of be fun, to be fair.
Okay, last thing on this before we move on to the next topic is, wouldn't it just be better if we had like a giant Ascension tournament where it's like we take one of the tier 2 teams and they have a chance to make it all the way to Champions by being the best team? Like if the Ascension, somehow the schedule would have to be crazy, but let's say we have the Ascension tournament, the team that gets through Ascension makes it into the LCQ and they have a chance to go to Champions that year. That would be the craziest and coolest storyline in my opinion.
Yeah, I did think that there's a possibility. I thought that this might be a possibility this year because they're running a 7-team LCQ. Mm-hmm. So like
there is a slot, right?
Like I'm guessing they're just gonna play like a group of 3 and a group of 4.
Yeah, that is weird.
For these LCQs, I don't because that's how they did it when like Team Secret couldn't go to whatever tournament it was in 2021. Like they just ran a round robin of the 3 teams
for one half. Yeah, it seems weird though.
I assume that's how they're gonna do it because unless they give like a bye to like whoever finished, whoever the highest place finished. But that seems like a massive advantage.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair at all.
Yeah, so I assume that's how they're gonna do it. So I did think there was a chance, like maybe we could run Ascension and then whoever wins gets into LCQ. 8 teams, nice, let's go, do it. Right. That would make sense, but I guess that I don't think that's happening because I'm pretty sure. Like I feel like, and again, this goes into the whole tier 2 thing as well, with like a lot of people having problems with how the tier 2 is run and all that kind of stuff. Like they definitely should push back. And I think even Leo talked about this when he was on Platcha or whatever. Like it makes so much sense to have the tier 2 start like a month before tier 1.
Yeah.
And just have like a month of tier 2 where it's just them playing games. and because everyone would watch it because it's the only thing on.
Yep.
Right? Every Valorant fan who's really into it would watch it because that's all there is to watch. And then, so they get their own time, and you get invested in kind of some of the early storylines of what's going on, so that later on down the line, you remember, oh yeah, this team was doing really bad. Wait, they're good now? Oh, I remember. All that kind of stuff, which I think would help then for Ascension as well. And then maybe you could offset it to where, Ascension comes kind of in between and just before LCQ, and then you can, maybe have time to get them in there. Because yeah, you're right. It would be so cool if a team like from Tier 2 won Ascension and then was just like on an absolute heater, and then they won LCQ, and then they just win. Like, imagine if they won champs and this Tier 2 team like does this crazy, like just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and just goes crazy. Like, that would be like one of the best esports stories of all time. Unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna happen. But
yeah,
it would be cool. And I think it would spice up the LCQs as well.
It kind of makes sense to like put them in LCQ. Like, it really does, because if they've already qualified for you're playing against these teams next year, like, let them play against them.
You're already
now.
saying like you're as good as these teams, basically. Yeah. So it would make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen though, to be honest. And whoever was playing in it obviously will have been playing like a lot of Valorant. Like, if you did, you would be playing non-stop Valorant. You would go from Ascension, which is a massive, like the whole thing you've been building up for all year. You win that, and now you go and play more Valorant straight away, and then you win that, and then you play more Valorant straight away.
Right. I mean, let's just squeeze every drop of energy out of these players. Like, just milk them dry for the sake of the entertainment of the masses.
Nismo will never go back to his restaurant. No time. But yeah, America's probably is the correct answer to have 5 teams, because that gives Sentinels a chance, and then Sentinels 10s viewership.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best answer.
Agreed.
Speaking of regions, this is an interesting one. Which region will have the best and worst overall performances at the tournament? So obviously EMEA has 4 teams, so I guess it's more spread out than the other regions. But I'm interested to hear what your take was when you were writing this question down. Who did you think?
And we're not including China as a region in this, unfortunately. But they only have 2 teams. We don't know much about them.
Shall we also assume? Let's assume that something plays, because otherwise I feel like, again,
it's specific otherwise.
Easier an option.
But yeah, assuming something plays and not counting the Chinese region. To me, I would say that the most likely team to have the most disappointing performance, or the most likely region to have the most disappointing performance, is EMEA. And the reason for that is because they have 4 slots. So they're the most likely, just purely, if every team is even, we're looking at every team being even, they're the most likely region to win the tournament, because they have 4. Cool? However, I see a world where Foot loses their first 2 games. I see a world where Na'Vi, we've talked about it.
No, they're not losing to Attacking Soul Esports. I'm not having it. I'm not having the Foot slander.
They lose.
They could lose this.
They lose to EG. Their confidence crumbles. Kiwi decides that he's going to marry a Japanese girl and leaves the team. He falls in love in Japan. It's over. Foot loses their best player. Otacopton, I don't know. He decides that he gets sick. Exactly. Fnatic, they have to get sick. Durka's going to get sick 100%. They will play without Durka for the first 2 rounds of playoffs. Liquid, we've already talked about how Liquid is going to fall short of expectations. And then Na'Vi, we've talked about them trolling. They're going to lose to NRG, and then EDG is going to smash them in the lowers. So no, realistically, Fnatic's going to do well. The rest of the teams, I'm not sure about. And for me, that makes them the most likely to fall flat. As far as the best region, I think the most surprising performance is probably going to come from Americas. I know this keeps sounding like I'm super biased for my region, but anybody who watches my content knows that I don't really like the Americas region. I prefer watching APAC, and I prefer watching teams like Fnatic, who are just insanely good at the game. But Loud is going to do well. We know this. There's like 0 chance that Loud doesn't do well at this tournament.
Is it 0?
It's very low. It's very, very, very low.
Who could come out of groups and challenge Loud, do we think? I mean, NRG. If
Energy.
Loud got NRG, they could lose that game.
They could.
And then they're in the lowers. And then who knows?
I don't
Could
buy
happen.
It. I don't buy it.
Could happen.
It could happen, but I don't buy it. Energy, they're coming out of groups, right? We both agree?
Yeah.
Energy's coming out of groups. Yeah, they're not going to get grouped. And once they're in the playoff bracket, Energy is one of the scariest teams at the tournament.
Okay.
Evil Geniuses, we've both agreed that they are very likely to be one of the strongest teams out of groups. If they're hitting, they're one of the strongest teams out of groups. Yes?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So we're positive about EG.
I like EG.
we're positive about Energy, and we're positive about Loud.
I guess. I mean, the thing is for me, right? I already kind of said that I was predicting, I guess, T1 to make it out of group of the group.
Damn, you just pick a hill, and you're just gonna die on that hill. All right. So yeah. So sell me on Pacific being the most exciting team, or the most exciting region.
Here's what's gonna happen. T1 are gonna win that group. And NRG are going to lose to Navi. It's 100%.
Okay.
But then NRG, they always rematch. Whoever wins, this happened with Guild, did it not, in Copenhagen?
So you're saying they're going to lose to Navi, T1's going to beat Navi in winners, and then Navi plays Energy in the decider.
Hold on, this did happen, right? Oh no, Guild beat Crew. Oh, maybe I was kind of hoping that I forgot. Yeah, it was Crew. Guild did get through. Guild, remember Guild? Anyway, yeah, that's what's going to happen. T1 beat EDG.
Okay.
NRG lose to Navi. T1 miracle beat Navi.
Okay.
Then NRG don't lose rematches. They go through. So T1 and NRG. On the other side, DRX and I guess I'm agreeing with you here because I'm going to have DRX and EG, which would mean two EMEA teams out. So that wouldn't be good for EMEA. But then from there, and again, this is the script. I didn't write it, but this is the script that I've been given. What happens from there is Loud do get NRG because they just have to.
Okay.
It's contractually obliged that they play.
Sure.
And Loud lose, but then NRG play against, I don't know, Fnatic. We finally get that matchup, and Fnatic win. And Fnatic, you think they're going to win the tournament, but actually, really secretly, T1 wins the tournament out of nowhere.
How?
And how? Don't know. They got Team Liquid in the first, win that. Then they beat. Who else is in there? They play Paper Rex, and Paper Rex did have something, but then he was discovered. Like he was. This is why Benkai isn't playing, because something goes as Benkai in a costume. And he's just dressed in a costume the whole time, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's just Benkai."
I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep.
and then T1, yeah, beat them without something because it's realized it's not Benkai, and then they beat Fnatic somehow. I don't know. The story, no, but Pacific, I think, I'm talking myself into T1 getting out of the group, and then I think Paper X, if they have something, will do damage. I could see them getting to the final if they have something. Can they win? It will depend on who they play. But I think they could get to the final. And then DRX to me are obviously a mystery as well, right? Like, one, we don't know which roster they're going to play with. True. Two, they're like, I don't even know. Like, to me, DRX are like the rare case where I would actually say play with a 6-man roster. Because you need to play RB Neon on Fracture. Like, you must. And if you're going to play Lotus, you should also play RB on Neon on Lotus. Because you will do well with it. If you ever practice Lotus DRX, then that is the way you should go for it. But on other maps, it's like, you'll be better with Foxy 9. On the more standard jet maps, let's say. They're probably better off with Foxy 9. So, it's one of them where I do feel like DRX, they got an easy matchup in the first one, I think. So they'll probably get out of groups. And then I don't know if they'll do super well. But if T1 and DRX get out of groups and Paper X go on a deep run, I think you'd have to say the Pacific did pretty well. If that's the case, if my predictions are correct. But if my predictions are correct, that also means that EMEA will do pretty bad. So
you do agree with, after all that, you agree with me that EMEA is the most likely to have a bad performance.
But to be honest, Fnatic will probably win the tournament, and then it's like, well, did EMEA do bad if they won the tournament? It's kind of one of those, like, I don't know. Speaking of who's going to win the tournament, let's finish this thing with our Preds. I need to think about what I'm about to say, so why don't you go first with who you think's going to win and who are they going to beat in the final?
Okay. Can I just say before I get into this, I'm just going to buy myself a little time to think about this too, since you did that to me. I just think it's crazy that we spent like basically no time talking about DRX. And this is the team that we've constantly been like, this team is, is this the tournament where they finally win? Is it?
I had them when they were like winning in Pacific. I was like, I'm 100% locking in DRX as my pick to win. Right? It's a tournament in Asia for a change. That maybe going to be more familiar time zone, maybe culture wise. They'll be more comfortable than most of the teams. And they're going to win all these games in Pacific. They're going to be unbeaten, and then they're going to win it all. And then they didn't even win their own region. I just dropped my pick.
Yeah, I mean, are we just really just writing this team off already? It seems crazy to me.
Have you watched them play, though?
Yeah, I have, and we're both doing it, and I don't necessarily feel like it's a wrong move. Like, it kind of feels like one of those teams that it's like they've reached their cap, and they've reached their cap, and they've reached their cap, and maybe it's over, Like, maybe they just can't get beyond that without some massive changes to the structure of the team. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
So, to finally answer your question, now that I've bought myself enough time,
DRX winners.
I think the team that will win this tournament.
Oh,
it's very, very likely going to be Na'Vi.
Na'Vi. Tell me on Na'Vi. Did Yoru get a buff and I didn't hear about
it? I think everybody is sleeping on Na'Vi.
I just had them going out in groups, so
I think we've been sleeping on Na'Vi because they have been unbelievably troll the entire year. To me, I just can't, like, the player quality on this team is so good. We were talking about Sugetsu or Xiao being potentially the best player in the world last year. And they have both players on their team. Like, as far as player quality goes, I think that Na'Vi is the closest to challenging Fnatic. As far as just like a 1-to-1, looking at each player. And I feel like they're just a little bit, they're there. Like, the potential is latent. And all they have to do is stop trolling. Just stop trolling for one whole tournament. Put C-Knight on Jet. Allow Xiao to be Clutch King. Allow Sugetsu to be the second coming of Nats, but potentially better that he was all of last year. Angel, call your heart out. And Zipan, just be like the stoic god that you are. Just incredible rifler, incredible support player. I feel like Na'Vi is being slept on. And if I'm not picking Fnatic to win the tournament, I'm probably picking Na'Vi. So, just to be contrarian, I'm not going to pick Fnatic, and I'm going to pick Na'Vi to win it all.
Wow.
Oh, and who will they beat? They will beat Fnatic, and we'll have the most boring. We'll have the most boring EMEA.
Wait, so you had EMEA. Wait, let me get this right. You just said the EMEA will have the worst overall performance, but your final is Na'Vi versus Fnatic.
No comment.
Okay. That makes sense. You know what? When you were mentioning DRX, my mind started turning. My mind started thinking, what if they did just win? What if this is their tournament? What if this is the time? Because no one expects it. Everyone is always waited for DRX to finally be this, team of like, oh, this is the time, guys. It's gonna be DRX. Trust me, guys. Trust me. It's DRX.
Expectations are lower.
This time, no one's saying it. This time, no one thinks DRX is going to do well at this tournament. No one thinks that they'll probably go anything past, like, maybe they'll get out of groups and then they'll go home. What if this is the time that they turn up and then without the pressure, maybe they feel that, expectation lifted on them. Hey, we're just coming in, we're just playing. We're the underdogs in all these big games against all these big teams, right? Who cares? And that is what they needed this whole time. And then they turn into the team that wins it. It's not going to happen, though, because they aren't playing well enough to win. So here's my pred. I'm going to do 2 preds. Paper Rex with something.
I was just going to say, caveat, I'm picking Paper Rex to win it all if they have something.
Are winning this tournament against, I'm going to say, Fnatic.
Okay.
Paper Rex without something, no chance.
Yeah.
Okay. So without something, my pick is going to be, because I don't want to pick Fnatic because it's boring and because it's safe, and I don't want to pick Loud either because it's boring and it's safe. But I don't know who else is going to win. Who can actually realistically win? Can Team Liquid win? No. Can they? I'm trying to think, like Paper X with something, I can actually see them winning it. Like, I can see them do it. Particularly if they get a good Jing performance. But other than that, if Paper X don't have something, congratulations, Fnatic, because you're being Loud again, and we're just going and we're running it back. And then guess what's going to happen at Champs? A 3-peat Fnatic Loud happens again. Everyone's playing for 3rd place.
No love for energy, huh?
It's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. Like, those 2 teams, I think, like, I did part of my top 10 for Plat Chat or whatever. I've got 4 Fnatic players in there. I do only have 2 Loud players in there, but like, it's just too good. It's just too good. So I'm gonna say, Paper X is my pick with something. Without something, I'm gonna say Fnatic. Although when I do a video of myself on this for my pick'ems, who knows what I'll do?
It'll be different.
It'll be different. In fact, I guarantee it'll be different because then I have more chances of it. Like, if I'm right, I can always just come back to it and say I'm right. So really, I'm just gonna hedge my bets. There you go.
Smart.
Paper X, congratulations. And in my video that I do later in the week, congratulations, DRX.
All right. So, taking anything away from this episode,
no,
is that we're just shotgun approach. Just predict everything. Some of it will be right. And then you guys can call us experts. So let us know what your preds are in the comments below. Thank you for watching Cosmic Divide. TMV, any final words to the fans?
I think I've slowly lost my mind thinking about this tournament the more I do it. But I'm excited. I'm very excited, and I think you should be too, because get ready, folks. China's coming to play.